I don't think the game's over.
Welcome to Triple Zeros. I'm your host, Josh Buckhart. Follow me on Twitter at JoshyBuck. Dennis Green is famously quoted as saying, "They are who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook. If you want to crown them, crown theirs, blah, blah, blah." That was the Bears Super Bowl season. Anyway, long story short, the Bears are who we thought they were, but the Rams did not let them off the hook. And it's quite simple, really. There's not too much to dissect, really, as much people want to get into who's at fault, who's to blame for this, that, and the third. The fact of the matter is, the Bears got beat in the trenches first and foremost. The offensive line of the Rams did enough to keep Jared Goff clean for long enough, to push the run game enough to basically keep the Bears at bay and allow the Rams to end up with a 24-10 victory. And really, Chicago's offensive line is just bad. It's awful. They were already not good, right? They were already not good. I wouldn't call them bad before. They were workable. You could see some things that were coming together. Some things still need to be fixed. But then they lost James Daniels, and it's just gone. I did both guards now. Jermaine Ifedi's still not bad. He had a penalty Monday night, but he hasn't been bad. But on the other side, you got Rashad Coward in there. You had it's been bad. It's been just rough to see them get pushed around. Aaron Donald's a beast, but the most disappointing part about this entire night wasn't necessarily the Bears' offense only scoring 3 points, because that 7 of that 10 came from the defense. Eddie Jackson finally got his touchdown. Props to Eddie. The saddest part about the night was that Leonard Floyd got 2 sacks, and for whatever game plan you want to put out there, for whatever you tell your defense, right? Whatever your offensive goals are for the night, there is no way in hell you can let Leonard Floyd get 2 sacks on you. I know it's a moral victory, nothing else, especially with the way the rest of the night went. But there's no way in hell you're letting Leonard 7 sacks in a season, Floyd get 2 sacks on you in one game. This was a very disturbing display of what's to come. This is the second time that the Bears, I said it early on, this game had the feel of the Indy game, where they were close for much of it, but you just never felt like they just couldn't put it all together. There was just something missing. And it brought up another trend that I've noticed, and this is Matt Nagy's play calling. And it gets very suspect a lot, but even more so when he goes up against any coach that's worth his salt in calling plays and in offensive coordinating, and being a schemer. And he goes into this kind of a shell where he seems almost afraid to call his good plays. He seems hesitant to go up tempo, to let the quarterback control the quarterback that he wanted. This is his quarterback in Nick Foles. I would say it's head scratching if I hadn't been talking about this for quite some time now and didn't see it coming. This is kind of the MO of the franchise. I talked about it, like I said, a few weeks ago, where they're just never on the same page. And I was talking to my brother earlier, and he said I've been saying this for about 17 years now. But they never put everything together at the same time. You always have GM come in, he's here for a minute, then he comes in, then he gets to bring in his coach. And then maybe they'll bring in the quarterback. Or in this situation, you had the GM come in, he brought in a coach, didn't want the coach, brought him in anyway, then picked a quarterback, knowing he wasn't going to keep the coach, fired the coach, brought another coach, who is on record as saying he didn't really like the quarterback that he now has prior to the draft, prior to coming here. And then they have to bench that. Dude, it's all bad. It's all bad. You look at the Rams, a team that, first of all, Sean McVay and that offensive system, they are running a basic amount of sets. They're not over complicating the situation with sets. Matt Naggy, personnel swapper, Mr. Let me kill the momentum with timeouts. Called the timeout, got an 18-yard play. Called another timeout, got set. Why are you calling back-to-back timeouts, man? and then refused to call a timeout at the end of the half. Oh, this was a coaching clinic. Again, back to McVay. They're running a lot of their offense, and it's a simplified thing that it's to confuse you. They imagine that, simplifying to confuse the defense, because they're looking at the same thing over and over, but it's different stuff coming out of it. Like, imagine, isn't that crazy? It's crazy. It's almost like, an offensive genius has figured something out here, as opposed to a guy who's trying to fit square pegs into round holes. A guy who went to the press conference and said that rookie Cole Kmet, who had a beautiful 38-yard catch, needs to play more, and that's something that needs to happen. He's earned it. Dude, you control these things. And I hear people calling for him to give up play calling, but look, if he's giving up play calling, he needs to be fired. And I'm not saying he needs to be fired. What I'm saying is, if that's where we're at, then he needs to be fired. I kind of feel like somebody needs to, like, Foles needs to, like, give him a good old Christian, it's not a cussing out, but like a, like a, hey pal, really, really nicely, but firmly let him know, like, dude, you gotta stop. The bubble screen, my man called the tight end screen, and it was all bad. Now, Foles didn't help his case. He started doing this thing. You saw Russell Wilson doing it on Sunday Night Football, where he's kind of, and I'll talk about that game later. Oh my goodness. He started, like, throwing off of his back foot and just throwing up these high arcing rainbows, and a couple of them came close to hitting. A couple of them fell innocently off by the wayside, and then he got picked. He got picked a couple of times. And what you really see now is, if nothing else, the threat of Mitchell Trubisky's legs was a big benefit to the Bears' offense and their offensive line. The defense wasn't able to just sit there and come right after him, knowing where he was going to be. They are teeing off on Nick Foles right now, and not every team's going to be the Los Angeles Rams, Los Angeles Rams. Almost called them Los. Never mind. All these teams: Vegas, Los Angeles, the Chargers, whatever. The Rams. All these teams don't have lines like the Rams. They don't have Aaron Donald everywhere, right? But it wasn't Aaron Donald in this game that was really the record. Like, he was controlling things, I'm sure. It wasn't like he was, I'm just saying, he wasn't stuffing the stat sheet. It was other guys who were doing that. And so you just don't, the Bears play the Saints next. The Bears play the Titans. And then they got to play Minnesota. And then they go on bye. Then they come out of the bye and they still have to play the Packers twice. They're going to need that 5-2, those 5 wins, that cushion, they're going to need that, because it's not looking good. I don't see any quick fixes, and the lack of answers and how ineffective the offense has been. I thought about it earlier. They said that they got Nick Foles over a guy, say, like Teddy Bridgewater, because he understood the offense and the playbook and what they were trying to get accomplished. And in the COVID offseason, with no offseason, that would be a big bonus to them with no preseason and all that kind of stuff. For his part, has been doing fairly well in a brand new system, not only to him, but a new system to the NFL, because Matt Rule's a rookie head coach from the college ranks. Like, what's really good? What's really happening? What's really going on? It's not good. And these answers of, it's got to start now, we got to get better, it's going to take time. Nah, man. You don't know now? Like, why is it that the dudes who have been here longer, who have been here the shortest amount of time, seem to know the offense better, or seem to execute better than anybody who's been in this system? This is bad. This is bad. This is bad. And you could say it's overreaction from one game, or you could say it's something that's kind of been on the back burner and on the way for a while now, because I definitely feel like this has been what we've expected to happen. But now it's happening. We got confirmation after the Colts game, and now this one, when there are good offensive and now defensive lines, when you see those two Bears cannot contend with the top ranks of those. They could still be a pretty good one, I'm sure. But, like, I expect them to beat Minnesota, but I don't know about the next two against New Orleans, and then New Orleans at home and then on the road to Tennessee. I don't know about those. I don't know about that. New Orleans and Tennessee, that might not be a good back-to-back there. Yeah, so moving on, rest of the week was pretty wild. Video game numbers getting put up by a lot of players this week. Starting off, Devontae Adams, Green Bay Packers, man, they kept on rolling. They took care of business, 35-20 over the Houston Texans. Devontae Adams put up 13, 196, and 2 because the Texans decided they were going to single cover him the entire game for some stupid reason. I don't understand what made them think they were going to be able to do that, but they did it. And he made them pay almost 200 yards and 2 scores as Aaron Rodgers threw 283 yards, 4 touchdowns. This just went off on him. And then they had Jamal Williams because Aaron Jones was out, and the Texans can't stop anybody on the ground either, so he had 77 yards and a touchdown. Not a big day for him. No video game numbers there, but still very productive in the in the stead of one Aaron Jones, who's a beast in his own right. But damn, Devontae, 13 from 196? Ooh, wee. Anyway, that's what offense looks like, huh? Anyway, on the other side, Desean Watson, 309 yards, 2 touchdowns, and Randall Cobb, former Packer, 8 for 95. So that was cool. He got a little, not revenge, because they got their doors blown off too. It was bad for the Texans the entire rep. They can't stop a soul. At least, despite the final score, the Bears' defense held on. And I usually don't go back like this, but I am. Houston's defense is terrible. They're bad. That's a bad situation. Feel bad for Desean Watson. They're going to blame him for taking the big money in the contract, but that's what you do, and they got to figure it out. That's how that works. And it was ruined before this, so don't blame him. Antonio Brown is joining the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as if they need it. They just blew the doors off the Las Vegas Raiders. See, that's where that Los Angeles, Las Vegas thing came from. They're really close in my notes. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. Bucks blew out the Raiders 45-20. And honestly, at this point, somebody said it was too many weapons for Tom Brady. Clearly, he needs them, right? Because there's no reason to have Mike Evans, who only caught like 2 passes for 30-some-odd yards in this game. Chris Godwin, who had damn near a buck. Scott Miller, who had over 100 yards. You still got Rob Gronkowski, who seems to be coming back into form. Seems to be getting it right back in line, right on time, too, because they are just dominating, especially after the Bears got that victory over them a couple of weeks ago. They've spanked the Packers, and now the Raiders, who had a couple of key victories in their belt with the Kansas City Chiefs in Arrowhead and the New Orleans Saints earlier this year. But the Bucks did beat the Raiders, covered actually as part of our betting primetime moneymakers piece from last week. So that was cool to see because it didn't end up that way. But at this point, we were feeling good. After the Thursday game and now this one, we were feeling pretty good. The overhit on this one, though, so that kind of hurts. Odell Beckham Jr. will be out for the season towards ACL. Hurt himself making a tackle on Baker Mayfield's first pass because that pass turned into an interception. Beckham Jr. will now suffer his, I think it's his second ACL, and he'll be with the Browns again next year. That's not a good look. It's interesting that he ended up there, and I know New York was trading him somewhere. They felt like he'd be harmless, but damn, that's like Siberia of the NFL. Not only are they not relevant right now, and I mean, I say that as they're 5-2, but they don't throw a lot, and when they do, it's considered a major occurrence. So I say that to say this. They ended up winning the game against the Cincinnati Bengals, 37-34. Baker Mayfield, after that first pass interception, went on to throw 5 touchdowns, including the game winner. In Beckham's stead, Rashard Higgins came in and had 6 catches, 110 yards. He made the waiver wire article this week. Just came out for Clocker Sports today, so go ahead and check that out. But yeah, listen, there's a lot of people who are talking about how the team got better when Beckham went down, and Mayfield spreads the ball around. There's no way in hell you're going to convince me that the team got better. It's Cincinnati. Like, this is what was going to happen regardless. He just effed up in the beginning. Like, this is what I expected to happen the entire time. So, save it for a better defense. He just got beat up on. We just saw it happen. You can't have this short of a memory. It's not possible. So, just keep that in mind. Cincinnati, as Joe Burrow struggles to try to find another win in this league. Sucks for him. That dude, 400 yards for him. And he had all 3 of his receivers cooking. I believe it was at least 4 catches and 70 yards for each one of those guys. And A.J. Green, Tyler Boyd, and I always forget his name, T. Higgins. Rashard Higgins, T. Higgins. Both the Higgins boys, I don't think they're related though, were playing in that game. OBJ hopefully comes back full strength next season, but yeah, unfortunately he will be returning to the Browns when he does, so that's going to be unfortunate. Maybe by then they'll feel more comfortable letting Baker open it up more often, but right now, it looks like a low volume offense at best. The New Orleans Saints, speaking of losing receivers, got out a win against the Carolina Panthers 27-24 without Michael Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders. Thomas has an ankle, tweaked his hammy. And side note, are we approaching the point where we're seriously considering that the Saints are going to move Michael Thomas? Like, whoa, how did that devolve? So he just got paid. That cap hit's going to be huge. I don't say it's happening just because of that, but that's we're close. I'm seeing scenarios drawn up, but I know I talked about it last episode, but like I was just bullshit. You know, we were just talking stuff around. This sounds like it might be there. There might be something to it. Now I doubt it. Sean Payton was quick to come to Twitter and say the outsiders are just where they belong on the outside, and yeah, that's cool. That's what you expect them to say, but that's always what you say until you're no longer talking like that and the guy's gone. Now, I don't expect them to get fleeced a la Bill O'Brien in Houston, but if the right offer comes along from the right team, I could see it happening. And I told you about one that I wanted to see with the Raiders going to get Julio. Maybe the Raiders going to get Michael Thomas. That'd be nice. That'd be nice. Emmanuel Sanders on the COVID list. I wanted to count the Saints. I wanted to give the Panthers more credit. Teddy Bridgewater still played a good game, but their defense is bad this year. It's far cry from the days of old where they carried quote unquote Cam Newton to the playoffs. And I bring that up because Cam got benched this weekend in a 33-6 loss. To the San Francisco 49ers. Cam 9 of 15, 98 yards, 3 INTs. To his credit, he says he deserved it and that he can expect it basically to be permanent if he continues to be trash. I specifically added that last part. Kind of paraphrase everything, but that last part completely was ad-libbed. Listen, 68% completion on the season, 900 plus yards, but just 2 touchdowns to 7 picks, and 5 of those picks have come in the last 2 weeks. It's not been good, and he missed the game also. It's not been good. The Patriots are out here struggling, but the defense was what was the worst. Now, granted, his 3 picks definitely contributed to the defense being probably gassed and on the field the entire time, but you still got damn. And this is what's surprising to me is San Fran is all of a sudden 4-3. They were just decimated with injuries and struggling to cling to life, and now they're part of an NFC West that looks like the best division in football right now. Jarrett Stidham, who replaced Cam Newton, also threw a pick just for good measure because why not? That's what they needed. Jimmy Garoppolo actually threw 2 picks on his own, so there were no touchdown passes in this game. Hey, but Brandon Ayuk is another player that made the waiver wire article for Clocker Sports this week, so again, be sure to check that out. Atlanta Falcons scoring late touchdown actually cost them the game. Now, this is a little tongue-in-cheek because, let's be honest here, the defense needs to step up and make a damn stop at the end of the game. But they lost 23-22 to the Lions. Todd Gurley, 10-yard run, took one too many steps, couldn't stop his momentum, and stumbled his way into the end zone, scoring, bringing the score to 22-16. Well, that allowed the Matthew Stafford-led Lions to march 75 yards in 5 plays, 5 actual plays because they had a couple spikes in there too, but 75 yards in 5 plays and score a touchdown. Now, granted, Gurley wants to stop there at that 1 yard line, let him bleed the clock and kick the field goal. First of all, you don't know if you're gonna make the field goal anyway. I'm just saying that as it is. But what's even worse than that is that's what really came out of this. Is the headline is that Gurley needs to go down and oh my gosh, how did he stop them? 75 yards in 5? Not even that. Not even 75 yards. 5 plays. Come on, man. You can't. There's no way you can. That's not good. You can't do that. You can't have that, and then you can't let that. You can't let Gurley then end up being the story when you end up letting them march down in 5 plays, 75 yards. That's BS. Not good enough. Falcons, man. They already fired the coach. I don't know what they're gonna do. Matt Patricia hangs on for another week, and I almost wonder: are Lions fans happy or upset about that? Do they like Matt Patricia? Because I know a lot of people don't. So like. And I don't mean this personally, I mean like professionally. Like, just like his personality in professional realm. I don't know him personally. I can't speak on that. But do fans like him? Do Lions fans like Matt Patricia? You can't, right? Is every win torturous? I don't know. These are the questions that I have as a fan who is teetering on the brink of that kind of feeling. Different circumstance completely, but that kind of feeling. The Cowboys got abused by the Washington football team 25-3 as they lost another quarterback. This time it was Andy Dalton getting concussed by John Bostic on a really, really bad targeting hit here. I mean, bad on Bostic's part. Dalton sliding in mid-slide, and Bostic flies in with the forearm right to the dome, blasts him. His head hits the turf there. And, yeah, it wasn't good. Apparently, Bostic will not be suspended, but he has been fined. I'm sure that Vontaze Burfict is somewhere like, wow, but Burfict clearly was a repeat offender. Bostic, though, this one was egregious. Like, it wasn't good. It was not a good look at all. Ben DiNucci came in and unexpectedly struggled. That's just what you expect to see when the third string quarterback comes in, and maybe he gets better. Maybe he ends up Tony Romoing this entire situation here, allowing Dak Prescott to find his way to Chicago. Another story altogether. But not that game. 25-3. You hate to see it. That division's bad. I didn't think the Cowboys would be this bad. And I know they got a lot of injuries and things of that nature, but wow, still just a surprise how different the year goes from what you expect it to be. Antonio Gibson did get 128 yards on the ground for the football team. So, there's that. Again, it's an ugly division. This was an ugly game just because it was so uncompetitive. Non-competitive? Wasn't competitive, period. There is one unbeaten team left in the NFL. The Steelers beat the Tennessee Titans 27-24. Pittsburgh led 24-7 at halftime. 24-7 lead at halftime. They blew that as Ryan Tannehill looks legit, dare I say it. Derrick Henry didn't have a great game, but A.J. Brown decided to go ahead and hang 6 for 153 and a touchdown on the Steelers' vaunted defense. Now, they were missing a couple pieces. Mike Hilton and Devin Bush were not in the lineup. But still, 6 for 153, you put up a nice stat line, and you did it extremely efficiently. That's impressive, sir. That's the video game numbers we were talking about. Ben in this one, 2 touchdowns, 3 picks, as the Steelers, again, were trying their damnedest to give this one away, but they ended up winning the game. And it wasn't because of them. It's because the Titans must have wanted it less. At least one player did. Steven Gostkowski missed the game-tying field goal at the end of the game there to let the Steelers live on as the lone remaining unbeaten team. Now, you're noticing what I'm saying here. We'll talk about that in a minute. Just hang on to that one in your hat. Lone unbeaten team in the NFL, not just the AFC. Anyway, Justin Herbert finally does it. He finally got a win. The Jags were 1-4 coming in this one, but Herbert did not get that win. That was a Tyrod Taylor game. Herbert finally gets the win, going 39-29 against the Jacksonville Jaguars. He threw 27-43, 347 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks for the young rookie. Keenan Allen, 10 catches, 125. More video game numbers coming out of these players this weekend, man. It was pretty impressive. You just like to see it. It's a kid that's been, again, I told you, really close the past few weeks, but keeps having this run of bad luck. Picked by him, fumbled by another player, penalties, missed kicks that sent the game to overtime that they should have won. All types of stuff like that have been happening. So good to see him finally be able to put it all together and get that victory, that elusive victory. Enjoy it because it's fleeting. Just ask Joe Burrow, but good to see it. The dude's been pretty good too. I'm surprised. I was wrong about him. I did not think he would be as solid as he's been, and he has been. So kudos to him. Hats off to that organization and the situation that they have going there. And it's funny because people are dogging Anthony Lynn because he was going to put Tyrod Taylor on him. I don't know if it necessarily was that he was letting Tyrod Taylor go out there. I think it was more wanting the rookie to be ready and protecting the investment. I don't necessarily think that's wrong. Granted, it wasn't right because he got to see these two in practice, and I can't imagine he wasn't seeing from Justin Herbert what we're seeing in every game. But I don't think it's necessarily appropriate to blame, especially when they're not doing things that they're doing and you're seeing how it's starting to pay off. And again, they weren't winning, so it ain't like Herbert was doing all this and they were getting W's, and it's like, oh my gosh, how did you keep your team from winning? They were still losing. He was just looking nice while doing it. Now they got to win. So And also Jacksonville, that's another situation. Marrone has got to go, right? Doug Marrone has got to go. The Jets in the game of the Buffalo Bills, and he struggled. Like that team struggled. Him and Adam Gase, Doug Marrone and Adam Gase have to be the next ones to go, right? Have to be the next ones to go. I don't know how Gase made it to the plane. I know they played Buffalo tough, and we'll talk about, Buffalo struggling. No touchdowns in that game. Made it crack the door to an MVP. But anyway, I don't know how they make it, Marrone and Gase. And I know Gase is just bad. Marrone, they kind of have pieced this out by themselves like I talked about. Maybe that's why he's still around. But jeez, man. And then lastly, Sunday Night Football. It was like honestly, the present and the future playing each other with Russell Wilson and Kyler Murray going at it head-to-head in this one. And this game, I have to ask if Kyler Murray potentially has reinserted himself in the MVP conversation. If you recall, I was the conductor of said train for quite some time, and then it derailed itself because it had a couple of bumpy games. Meanwhile, Josh Allen and Russell Wilson were continuing their very efficient, dominant ways. Well, Wilson had the first stumble, just a little stumble. Josh Allen then stumbled, allowing Wilson to catch back up. But now Wilson had this game where he threw 388 yards, but 3 touchdowns and 3 really, really bad picks. Like, I don't think any of the 2 for sure were bad. I think the third was bad as well. Just awful for Russ. It was not a good game for him at all, especially because he got the ball back in overtime and continued to throw picks and threw the game away. So did Murray, who threw 3 touchdowns of his own but only 1 interception, find his way back in? I think so. It's probably going to end up being Patrick Mahomes, and we'll talk about that another day, because they just stomped on the on the Denver Broncos. But what do you expect? 2 defensive touchdowns. Anyway, as the Broncos just look lost. That sucks because I like Vic Fangio, but it doesn't look good for them right now. So I think we're back at it. 3-headed monster between Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson, and Josh Allen. Especially because now Murray's Cardinals are just a game behind Wilson's Seahawks. And like I said, Allen's been kind of struggling. There was no touchdowns against the Jets. Like, you're supposed to blow the Jets out, and you struggled. So we'll have to keep an eye on that and see if Murray can keep his name in contention. Because, again, like I said, I was at the forefront of that hype train, and I reserve the right to start it back up at any time. That's just what happens when you're the one who starts it. This is preseason we're talking. I got articles behind this calling for him to be the MVP. If he could find a way to will it out, man, that'd be great. Love to see it. The story of this one, as I bury the lead, is Tyler Lockett. I'm talking about video game numbers. Tyler Lockett goes out here and puts up 15 catches, 200 yards, and all 3 of those Wilson touchdowns. 15, 200, and 3. All 3 of y'all. Tyler Lockett was a man possessed. Seattle's passing game has never looked as disjointed, with Wilson throwing the picks, and beautiful with Lockett out there abusing Patrick Peterson, no less. Cardinals secondary, though, it was an ugly game for them, and he was just feasting. And you wonder, could this be a point that like clicks? I know they won't play a defense like that every week, but again, Peterson's not bad. He was playing well, and Lockett just tore him off one, and it wasn't pretty. The Cardinals missed Chandler Jones. Seahawks missed anybody that could get to the quarterback. Ultimately, though, it wasn't the defense. It was Russ throwing the ball away. And again, that last one wasn't good. It wasn't good. So that's rough, man. But again, this has now opened the doors to a 3-headed monster here at the MVP race. 4-headed, because Patrick Mahomes has to be in the race. I can't not consider the MVP from 2 years ago as a viable contender for the award this year. That just wouldn't be right. Lamar won't be getting it this year, but those 4 guys can still certainly secure it. Switching gears over to the NBA, some quick wrap-up news because it's off-season, not a lot going on, but we are maybe getting some dates finally locked in. If the December 22nd start date is approved. Remember, they had talked about Christmas as a start date. Then they had tried to push it back to MLK Day to give guys some time to rest. And now they're trying to get it back before Christmas even, December 22nd. If that date is approved, camp will likely start December 1st per Mark Stein. The Athletics Shams Charania is reporting that, and End of Stadium is reporting that the league is considering a 72-game season that would allow close before the Tokyo Olympics, which are scheduled for July 23rd and August 8th. It would also put them on track to start a 82-game season the following season. So they try to get things back to normal as soon as possible. Michelle Roberts, the executive director of the National Basketball Players Association, thinks that there might be a need for a second bubble for the 2021 season. So especially if they're getting that December 22nd start date, I could see it, at least to start the year. I could definitely see them starting back off doing the exact same thing that they ended up with, because why risk it? Why risk continuing something that you were trying to get rid of at that point? And you did such a good job with it throughout the entire playoffs and the seeding games. There's really no need to not do it, especially, like I said, if you're going to move this date up to now as opposed to King Day. So keep fingers crossed, but we could be getting right back into it in less than 2 months here. So we'll see how that all goes. Now, that being said, Danny Green says of LeBron James, and I could see this being true for a lot of the big name guys who didn't play or who played late into the season. Even guys like the Kawhi Leonard and Paul Georges who maximize their resting time and will have some new teammates around them who probably won't say as much about that come next season. Could see them missing the start of the season. Danny Green says LeBron may miss the first month. So seriously, you have to wonder how many stars feel this way and how many are going to go through with that kind of, I don't want to call it a threat, but definitely will proceed just like that, as though they're not going to arrive prior to a certain date. They just got done playing. It's been less than 2 months. 2 months. It's been less than 2. I had to get that date. What did I put the date? You can't make them turn around and come right back into. You can't make them turn around and come right back and play again, because if you do that, then you're going to have injuries galore. Look, the NFL tried to jump into something, and I know it's different because the NFL is trying to start without a preseason. And the NFL is trying to start without a preseason, and they are not necessarily wanting to they ended up with a lot of injuries because guys weren't stretched out. They weren't ready. They weren't prepared. They didn't have those moments of getting hit. And so now you look at it, and the NBA is going to try to go, after having guys playing for so long, starting it right back up. That's just as bad, if not worse, because these guys are already tired. At least in the NFL's case, you could say that the guys were fresh and they don't necessarily, they're not going to necessarily be out of shape per se. But these guys are gassed. Fatigue is when injury sets in. The body needs to recover and recuperate. That's not happening right now if you come right back into the season. So I don't want to see them necessarily come back too soon. At the same time, damn it, I'm missing sports like that run, like I told you, that run of a few games where they were playing every day. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so okay, it's been less than a month. Holy crap. It's been less than a month and they want to return for the play. So by the time it comes back, it'll be a little bit over 2 months when it comes back, if it's September 22nd. So that's where that goes. Okay. Sorry, I had a little confusion. Had to get that broken down. That's really quick. Really quick. I don't blame those guys for taking a month off to just recuperate. And other news around the league, Cleveland Cavaliers working out Obi Toppin. Listen, to me, all that is probably nothing, but it does suggest that they think he'll be available, which means that they think that the Bulls will pass on him, which hopefully means that the Bulls can end up getting James Wiseman. I also would like LaMelo Ball. People don't want to see him to hear that. I would also accept Tyler Halliburton. That's my top choice out of those top two, the Ball and Wiseman. And then beyond that, Danny Avdija. So that's my 4 guys that I'm looking at that if I'm the Bulls, I'm hoping they look at, unless they're trying to make a major move and go get some big piece with that 4th overall pick. So we'll see what they end up doing with that. But, Cavs working out Obi Toppin. They got a lot of forwards, so I don't know. Who knows? Cavs got a weird roster right now, but Toppin, you get Toppin, Sexton, Garland, you got Chetty, and then what's going on with the bigs there? You got a lot of guys. I'm not sure if you got anybody that you want to keep long term, but you got a lot of guys. That's for damn sure. And then lastly, Pat Riley backtracks on his asterisk comments. We talked about this. How he said that their finals will always have an asterisk by it, and that that's just what it is. Now, before explaining his backtracking, whenever there's a shortened or any kind of different season, you're going to have the asterisk. However, this was clearly taken as oh wow, Pat taking shots at LeBron and them for not winning or for winning in the COVID situation. Well, he cleared it up and said, listen, it was legit. They are the better team. They were the better team, rather. They won flat out. It's not going to keep talking about it, whatever. But he backtracked that thing faster than Michael Jackson breaking out the moonwalk. Pat don't want none of that smoke. Listen, he don't need it. It's off season. Jimmy on the boat. Pat about to go join him somewhere. They're about to just chill. But I definitely think the initial response, the initial comment was pointed. And this one was like, okay, well, I can easily spit in that. But it definitely was like, yeah, whatever. Little jab at LeBron. Little mind game at LeBron. I don't put it past either one of them to be on that kind of a tit-for-tat type of level. And it wouldn't surprise me. But, yeah, he backtracked on that one. So, I guess it is what it is. That's going to do it for this episode of Triple Zeros. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at JoshyBuck. Hit with the Facebook page, Clocker Sports, the website, clockersports.com, and the email address, clockersports@gmail.com. Until the very next time, you got to make sure that you read the stuff. Last Word on Pro Football, pimpin'iteasy.com. Of course, clockersports.com, American Betting Experts. Look out for that as well. And be on the lookout for the Around the Clockers Roundtable. Got to put the episode up. We just recorded it last Friday. I still haven't put it up yet. I'm slacking on it. But that being said, until the very next time, you already know what it is, man. It's the sound of the horns.